Should you play Cybercode Online? Short answer for that question is maybe, if this is your thing. The long answer, well, let's take a look. So first we're going to take a look at combat and randomness in the game. So with fighting enemies in this game, the easiest way is, of course, just to go to the enemies within the train station areas, and then you'll find a bunch of these randomly generated enemies. You can see we have a Sycophant who's agile, a nanovirus creator who's angry. He's an angry nanovirus creator. They're all just randomly named. They won't ever be the same thing. I'll fight one. As you can see, the enemy's health, your shield, all your different guns down here. You have 3 different types of guns. One doesn't use ammo. One uses ammo and deals a lot of damage. One deals a lot of damage to energy weapons, or to shields, sorry. You have this little bar. You can disable this or enable it. If you click it while it's over here, you get a little bit of damage boost. You can literally sit here forever. They will not attack you until you attack first, which is nice. If you disable this bar, you do not get the damage boost from hitting a max shot, though. And then when they die, they drop some loot. Now you can see, almost all of these guys are different after I killed that one. That's just how it works. See, we have an angry Team Rocket, or we have a tough Team Rocket James down here. I want to fight him real quick. Perish, Team Rocket James. Thank you. He didn't drop anything good. Cool. So that's how the enemy generation works. Now let's take a look at dungeons. Dungeons can be done in 2 ways. You can either do a dungeon, or you can use an AI core, which you get from dungeons, or sometimes daily login. Things like that. Dungeons are basically just longer enemy segments with random loot scattered around. You can add other people to your dungeons, being the only multiplayer aside from chat in the game. So, here's the dungeon. You click to move. Here's an enemy. You click on the enemy. It brings you into pretty much the same system, except for now we have healing. How healing works is, at any time, you can just click the heal button, and it does not use a turn up. It just heals you. You can spam healing after each hit. You'll get a lot of the basic healing items, which become basically irrelevant after level 25. Here, you can see he has energy. Perfect example. Energy weapon deals tons more damage to that. Once you've cleared out the entire room, you can either go on to a different room of the dungeon, or pick up all the loot crates that are in the current room you're in. You can leave the dungeon at any time. I don't see any punishment for leaving the dungeon, especially after you clear the boss room. Each of the rooms is generated after a preset, but all the items are placed randomly, it seems. We also have lore, which is an exclamation point you can find in the dungeon. It is basically useless. In the boss rooms, you can also obtain random items of gear from the chests that you can't usually get anywhere else in the entire dungeon, or nothing else will drop them. These little yellow things here, these are just good loot. See, oh, locked containers. Yep, pretty good loot. You can unlock the containers, and you get loot from them. Usually the loot is decent enough. These containers here, the ones that look weird, are keys. You need to get a key from every single dungeon on a level in order to get to the next level, blah, blah, blah. So you're forced to do 3 levels, or 3 dungeons per level, regardless of whether you want to or not. You can also find question marks, which are quests. They'll ask you for a couple random items and give you a couple random items in return. Usually they are not worth it. We're going to look at the skill system real quick. So how the skill system works is you have your level, which none of these skills can go above, and then you have your printing rank, medical science, ammo crafting, scavenge skill, and mining skill. Let me explain them. Printing rank allows you to print better gear from these caches that you get. You can use the caches and print them into a piece of gear. The gear will be the level of your printing rank. And then mining allows you to take hash processors and mine them into bitcoins, which is not worth it up until you're like level 200 mining, because you can sell them to the player market and get more. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So there are, of course, different rarities of item. There's legendary. Epic is the highest rarity. You'll probably never find an epic catch unless you're playing for a very long time. There's legendary, there's high quality, there's rare, there's trash, and there's common. You can print them all and get different stats. These rare ones are just below these pink ones and are pretty decent. How the items work: you create the item, it gives you different random stats. It's like a Borderlands item drop. It has, random modifiers on it. Then you can add upgrades to it, which are also random. There's a lot of random. Have I mentioned the random? When you get high enough level, you can upgrade items beyond what they're dropped as using calibration cores. Do I have any? I do have equipment. I have 60 equipment calibration cores right now. It's recommended that you only use those when you're above level 50, because then leveling slows down, blah, blah, blah. Crafting. Basically, it goes like this. Antimatter charges. Let's craft 10. I've crafted 40 antimatter charges pretty much instantly. Only a couple things require time to craft, and it's the more expensive things like hash processors, AI cores. We might as well take a look at the cosmetic store first. This is just cosmetic. It makes you look fancy. That's right about it. These are what the real paying things are. So everything in this game takes time to do. If you start a mining project, let's go start a mining project real quick. Let's say I want to crypto mine. I want to crypto mine once. It takes 3 minutes right now. Usually it takes 15 minutes. That's because there's a 80% time reduction on. This is a paid thing. This is basically your pay to win, except for it applies to all players. That's how they tried to combat pay to win. Instead of when you pay to win, it only affects your account. It affects every account that's currently online doing an activity that can be accelerated. So in my opinion, that is a pretty decent way to do it. There is no like endgame PvP or anything like that, so you gain nothing from doing that. I wish there was some kind of PvP. Be warned, the code in this game does have traces of spaghetti in it. And sometimes you'll just end up having to reload either the app or in this case, the website to make it function. The chat here is very uptight about a lot of things. The best example I have is we had somebody in chat being like, this game is very unique. I've never seen another game like it. Does anybody know if there is another game even somewhat like it? And I, saw that, and I briefly mentioned Torn. I'm like, Torn's fairly similar in some aspects. And for about 15 minutes, 2 or 3 people in chat were trying to get me banned because I'd mentioned another game, which is, apparently, against the game's rules. Let's see if I can find it. Mentioning other games or anything else. Excuse me, what? First off, that rule is incredibly vague. Second off, that shows you have a extreme lack of confidence in your own product. If mentioning other games is too much of a hazard to have within your own game, I'm gonna be honest, I don't see much reason to play your game then. Why would I not go play the other game that you're attempting to ban me from mentioning because you're threatened by it? So should you play Cybercode Online? That's a definite maybe. I did enjoy the game. I stopped playing because I got bored. I might come back to it. It's one of those games that I might play on occasion. It really does not matter if you play it all the time or none at all. There's no, events that you have to play a ton for that give you anything other than, locked boxes. There's no end game PvP that you have to catch up to, nothing like that. You're just kind of chilling. If I had to rate this game, for what it is, a text-based MMORPG, it is definitely an 8 out of 10. On the scale of games that I could play, I'd probably put it at a 7 out of 10. And there you have it. Consider subscribing for more game reviews by a professional video gamer. Oh ho ho.